Meet the CFO Tipps und Tricks
mit Dirk Schäfer
und Florian Hohmann. This episode is presented by the L'Oréal Group. So welcome back to L'Oréal. I'm still with Stephane and Maria for our tips and tricks episode now. And in the meantime, I actually got quite some nice products, some presents. So I'll speak very highly of the company now. I like it even better than I did before. But no, thanks for having me again. And as usually in the tips and tricks episode, we want to find out a little bit about your keys to success, how you made it up in your career, but also what skills you need in your current jobs. And maybe starting with Maria, what do you think, what's the skill set you need in HR? Like for recruiting, for HR, what kind of skills do you need in your daily life to be good at your job?
I would say one of the keys at L'Oréal for sure is the stakeholder management, because you really are interconnected with so many people, because you are interconnected within your HR colleagues, but you're also interconnected with the business. So I think it's something very special about L'Oréal that HR is not so much about technical things. I mean, yes, we have our systems and we need, all the information behind of our employees, but it's the key of our success, and Eugène Schuller, our founder, said it at the time, a company is not about walls and machines, it's about people, people, people. And I think this is what we really live up to each and every day. And it's really about also knowing the people that you are hiring, the people that are working for the company. And it's not knowing them on paper, knowing their CV, it's really having had a chat with them, understanding where they are standing in their development, exactly like you said, which skills they need to develop further and maybe to take over a new role. So if I had to choose one, probably this at least would be one of the top skills that you might need in HR.
And what kind of skills or people are you looking for when you're recruiting? What does it take? Maybe also an interesting question for our student. What does it take to be a L'Oréal employee?
So we look very much you always will need certain skills if you look for a finance job. I mean, you need to be skilled in finance. But we're much more looking at the potential of the person. So for us, we have different dimensions of potential. And for example, it's very much about judgment, which is something that you might need in finance, but also in marketing or in sales. It's about learning agility. I think if you're not curious and you're not interested in thinking beyond what you already have on the table, you might not be that successful at L'Oréal, because as I mentioned, to drive innovation, you need to be curious and you need to be very willing to learn and go beyond.
Mm-hmm. And what does the typical recruiting process look like at L'Oréal, and how do you think it will change in the future? Because from my experience, it differs a lot now between companies. Some don't ask for the typical cover letter anymore. I'm also thinking, is that still necessary? Because in the past, also from my experience, when I get cover letters, they are all kind of the same. And now with ChatGPT, they will probably just all be generated quickly. So how will recruiting change, and what do you demand right now?
So first of all, I would say, technically speaking, you will apply on our careers page, because this is just like the entry system that we need to comply on, because it's also due to GDPR reasons. We're not allowed, anymore to receive this CVs that in the past you just got handed over like this. But to answer your question on the cover letter, for example, it's always good to deliver one, but it's not a knockout factor if you don't add a cover letter today. And to add on your question on everything that's AI oriented, I think it will change definitely, not only the HR and the recruitment job. And this is why also agility is so important today, because we need to adapt to this changing environment. AI will help us maybe to spend less time on quite, I would say, maybe technical things, and we can be more efficient maybe in the way we, for example, generate our job descriptions, because it's supporting us and it's fine-tuning maybe even job descriptions to make them even more attractive. But it's also about diversity, maybe when you look for specific skills or maybe languages that are also very important in our DACH region. Sometimes you need a certain skills of languages also to perform. And then also for the candidate experience, everything that's automated can help us to be faster in the process. And I think today, people are not willing to wait just like ages to get an answer. So I think AI will also help us to be faster in the whole candidate journey. And my team to spend time on the conversations with the candidates, with the business, to really understand what are their needs to be able to find the perfect candidate for the open position.
Yeah, it's still I don't say it's a heavy process, but it's still a lot of discussion. And it could be first with HR, then with the function manager, with the manager. It could be also sometimes with your colleagues in Paris, depending of the role. So we have still many interviews because, as I explained in previous discussion, it's first a human adventure. And we need to be also sure during this interview that we are sure that the person or the future employee will fit with our company culture. And it's more important because at the moment that this person will start in a company, he will be supported with strong training. We will develop also him or her. We'll give responsibility to this person. So it's also important that we check and we really take the time to see if there's a match between our company culture, the person, the responsibility we want to give to him or her, and also the investment that we'll do on this person.
And I think this is why the personal aspect of recruitment and hiring process will always stay, despite the fact that AI might support us on certain steps in the journey. But this personal, interpersonal, and people-oriented touch will never go away, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. And like, as you said, working together, you will figure out at some point who to invest in, how people like behave in daily life, if they are a cultural fit to L'Oréal. How do you try to filter that in the recruitment process already? Because that's much harder than the hard facts, right? Mm-hmm. If someone has done enough finance courses, the grades at uni, which uni they attended, that's easy to filter. AI does that, or you do it quickly. But those soft skills, how do you try to filter them to make or to be as sure as possible that this person is a match?
What we try to do is that when we have the interviews, that we really go deep, that we don't stay on the surface of the CV, because I think this is everything that you could read. So it's always important to have, I would say, a real story behind and be able to really develop what your achievements have been. I mean, it's not enough to say, I achieved like a growth of 10%. I mean, you will never be able to control this figure or to investigate, but it's really how did you do it, and really to be able to go deep and to develop how you maybe also managed your challenges during, even if you only have been a student, but you might have had workshops with other colleagues, other students together where you have faced some challenges. And I think to be able to develop and to show that even if you might have had a difficult situation, that you learned out of this situation. I think what I mentioned before, this learning agility is very, very important.
Yeah, I think the fact also that we have diverse people will interview the same person, will have diverse angle to see also to give a appraisal. And as Maria said, we try to go beyond only the curriculum vitae that we can everyone can read. So we'll also talk about some challenges, some adverse wind that the people could have faced with a lot of honesty, transparency. The idea is in 45 minutes interview is to be able to know better than person than only what is written on a CV. And I have to say that since many years that I'm recruiting people, we have definitely more success than something else.
Mm-hmm. And especially in the financial area, like you have been, as we learned in the last episode, in a lot of CFO roles in L'Oréal. What kind of skills and like soft skills and factual skills are you looking for in people you're mentoring, that you think, okay, they might be a future CFO for L'Oréal in the future, they might go up in their career? Also from your personal experience, what helped you to get up the career ladder?
Well, let's talk only about soft skill, as you said, because hard skill, let's take the principle that is given. Soft skill, on top of what Maria just said before, I think entrepreneur mindset is really important. be courageous, be curious, be enthusiastic as well. A good communication skill is also very important because in finance we need to communicate rightly on the right time. So I think it's also important to not to be only on the technical part, but also to be able to communicate also that one on the right level. It depends where you are, in front of a CEO or in front of your colleague or peers. So and acting with ethical behavior, with respect, were the key elements and the fundamentals of also the way that we interact each other.
Mm-hmm. So a little bit away from the skills, we always ask our guests in this tips and tricks episode about their daily routines to understand a little bit better how they structure their day. Stephane, are you a very structured person? Do you always get up at the same time, do the same activities, and then start your job, get home at around the same time? How is it for you?
I will love it. No, so my really only routine is coffee first. And I try to be the office quite early, but when I say quite early, it's around 8 because I need, let's say, 30 minutes for me, drinking a coffee, read some news on internet or look at some financial elements. So it's time for me. I'm also very happy because my assistant is quite early, so we can review also my day. And after, there's no classical day for me. So I try also in my calendar to block some moments in order to be reachable for my team. But a daily routine, since 26 years, I don't know what does it mean in terms of daily activity.
What's the activities, if the days are very different, what's the activities you like the most in your job? What are you always looking forward to? If that's in your calendar, you're like, yes, that's a good day.
But when you reach a CFO position, of course, the meetings when you talk about a strategic or vision or future project that will change also the way that we do business. If we think about, working with TikTok or with developing business with some other partners or or finance can support is really, really interesting. And the second one is when you're also a CFO and leading a group of 100 people is to take care of your community. So to spend time with my HR colleague to discuss about how to develop people or to develop the future finance talent for the group and for the DACH region as well. It's what is the most interesting. At the end, I really think that despite managing a P&L, a balance sheet, one of my roles is to create for my community the condition of success for everyone.
And Maria, how is it for you? Do you have a very structured day that you always get up at the same time? Do you have a morning routine, or is it also just coffee and go?
No, I have to say that my morning routine is very much driven by my kids. So we wake up at 7, yes, but it's quite late, but I live just around the corner, like Stephane. So I'm lucky that I really have a short way to work. But then I always take a walk. So I always bring my kid to school walking, which is very nice because we have this 15 minutes conversation in the morning. And then when I go back, I have time to reflect about my day. So I walk back, and then sometimes I even have the best ideas, either walking or running. Sometimes I meet Stephane on the Rhine River for a run on the weekends. So I think these moments when you move and think, for me, are very, very valuable moments. And then for me, it's the same like Stephane, it's coffee first. As soon as I'm in the office, I need my coffee.
Then to round it up, because a lot of our students are listening and we have CFO and HR here, so that's of course interesting. Any tips from experienced people who made it high up in a company? Any tips you would give our students for their lives, for their professional lives? What to do with their lives? How to find their way in life, their interests, the employer and job that fits best for them? Like any tips you might want to give?
I would say really use the opportunities that your university delivers to you, because there are really always a lot of workshops, a lot of master classes where you really can get in touch with companies. So I think this is a very nice opening door that you might have. We have built the M&A case for St. Gallen, for example, which has been, I would say, a very good case that shows on Azaro and Mugler, a real case on how L'Oréal, for example, developed an M&A case. So I really always try to benefit from these opportunities and be curious and open. I think for me, get in touch with people that use your internships to connect, and explore, and then follow your feelings somehow.
Yeah, same. I think Maria has expressed more or less everything. So take the advantage, be curious, be courageous sometimes, and just have fun. Because at the end, we spend a lot of time in our daily job, sometimes during the week more than at home. So just enjoy this professional life. And yes, as I said, just have fun.
I think just have fun is great last words. I have nothing to add to that. It was a lot of fun with you guys. Thanks for having me, and thank you for these nice 2 episodes.
Thank you very much.
Meet the CFO Tipps und Tricks
mit Dirk Schäfer
und Florian Hohmann.